Hi folks, welcome back. This is the midweek review for the ICT Mentorship. This is our daily chart for the dollar index. Okay, you can see we traded down into this old low. Didn't quite get through it yet. That is what I'm expecting. We're getting a little bit of a retracement in here. Small little volume imbalance. Notice this also coupled with the last up close candle. So potential bearish order block. Might want to dig into this little gap here between this candle's low, this candle's high, and we want to see it trade away from that and attack the sell side liquidity here. For it to hit here and bounce and go higher doesn't quite make sense, at least not right now. It doesn't. If it does need to go higher into this order block, mean threshold is essentially inside of this fair value gap here. So I don't know if it wants to go higher than that. I just anticipate it eventually turning back over and attacking the sell side liquidity here and maybe even into here. On the hourly chart, small little fair value gap we traded up into, exceeded that also, back into almost this volume imbalance. Didn't quite get there according to this chart yet, but I'm watching that as well. And then we have the buy side liquidity pool resting just above that short-term high. Now notice it's digging into this consolidation again right here. I like how we created a high and then ran through that high. So any trailed stop loss for the bears has been attacked with this price run here after hitting a fair value gap, bullish order block, really nice run up into that there. Sell side liquidity pool resting right below these relative equal lows. 15-minute time frame dollar index. Okay, you can see the daily volume imbalance, premium high, discount low, small little fair value gap right there, and buy side liquidity pool as well. Above that, it's here for buy side liquidity. Fair value gap on the 15-minute time frame and volume imbalance. Beautiful reaction there. Drops down into that during New York, which is also a optimal trade entry. Just running to the old high. That's a trade in itself, so that would set up shorts on foreign currency. Moving on into euro dollar, this is our daily chart, and like gangbusters, beautiful delivery up into the fair value gap we've been watching over here. So we traded through this high and completely closed in the imbalance there. We did come back down into this single candle up on the daily chart. So we pretty much almost completely rebalance. If we do find a lower run into this individual candle's high, that would be an immediate rebalance, and I would expect it to show respect there and start to go higher. I'm trying not to pick a top. You know that's the protocol around here. We are not trying to pick tops in bull markets. So keep that in mind. One down day doesn't begin a bear market. It needs to give us a break in market structure. It needs to show other things, and we just don't have that yet. Hourly chart on euro dollar. Again, that daily fair value gap, beautiful delivery. Breaks down, small little fair value gap there. Trades back up into that, and then makes an aggressive run for the sell side liquidity here, and consequent encroachment of the buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency on the hourly chart. 15-minute time frame euro. Again, top of that fair value gap, premium high, discount low. Trade up into consequent encroachment during the New York session. Optimal trade entry. If it starts to sell off from here, what's it going to target? This low, and if it breaks below that low, what's residing over here? Buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. So it trades down into that beautifully. Bearish order block here also trades up into that. So this here to here is another optimal trade entry, which would be technically London close. And then you have another one here from high, low, high, then sells off, and again attacking the sell side liquidity and trading back down into a discount array in the form of the buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. I mentioned on the daily log entry on your chart that at this 122 big figure, I mentioned think plus 40 pips. Because whenever we trade through a big figure, the tendency is for it to likely trade up as much as 40 pips. Well, from this big figure, 122, 40 pips just right up into here. It trades there and completes the fair value gap, completely closes it in, and then gives up the ghost. There's a break in market structure there, trades right back up into a rebalance, bearish order block, then breaks down in all of the respective optimal trade entries I've already mentioned moments ago. British pound versus US dollar or cable. This is our daily chart. This one here, like I said, it's been acting a little wonky still. I would have liked to have seen it trade through this high or at least touch it equally. That would have been better. But we traded above this short-term high here and then break lower, and then we got a complete closure of the small little fair value gap. So be mindful that this is what we have just rebalanced, and if we get any kind of upside here, that would set the stage for a run here, trying again not to pick the top in this market. Hourly chart, you see a fair value gap here, extend that out in time, optimal trade entry, beautiful run on sell side liquidity, back down into this consolidation in here. Pound dollars 15-minute time frame. This shaded area here is a fair value gap. I just didn't want to put a lot of lines on top of and in close proximity to that 142 big figure. I wanted it to be a little bit easier to see. And in London, you can see we had a optimal trade entry there. Breaks lower, creates a fair value gap, trades right back up into another optimal trade entry. High, low, optimal trade entry, New York open, fair value gap closure, sell side liquidity here, and attacks this small little fair value gap there that's not annotated, but nonetheless it's there. We also have a breaker. You have a low, high, low, extend that out in time, right in here in that proximity. I think we'll probably want to dig in a little bit deeper overnight, and we'll see if it creates the low of the week on Thursday's New York Open. And now we're looking at S&P. This is our June contract. Now this is the chart I shared the last time we spoke in video. So this is the volume imbalance, and this is the volume imbalance in the discount range, premium range. I mentioned that if we trade up into here and we fail to get above that, this is going to cause stocks to trade lower. This is the result after trading up into it. We had one more day trading into it here. Then on Tuesday, we traded one more time here, just slightly above these relative equal highs, and then breaks lower, and then aggressive run into the rejection block, which is the lowest down closed candle inside this swing. So this closing price extended out in time, that's what we have here, and we'll take that information, go back into the hourly chart that I showed you last time we were in video. This is what we had, bearish order block, which is also overlapping with that daily volume imbalance. That's these two levels, okay? And here is that lower level discount volume imbalance. Watch what happens after we go into today's price action. We return back into that volume imbalance and bearish order block. This was the last chart I just showed, and then we traded up to here yesterday on the 18th, broke lower overnight, and then broke aggressively into the rejection block, which is on that daily chart. We have it there. So we have a little bit of a fair value gap there to watch, and the mitigation block, which is this down closed candle right there, this one. So it could trade right back up into that. If it goes above the fair value gap, watch that. It could trade right back into the body of that, or consequent encroachment, which is the midpoint of this candlestick's tail. But I'll be looking to see if we want to trade lower. Now, what I don't like is that we have relative equal highs and a volume imbalance that did not completely close in. with 1, 2 imbalances left here. So we could get one more time, wildly ran up, clear all this out, and then if it's going to go lower, that's how I would do it. If I was making the market for the S&P market, I would come all the way back up, climb up into here, and do so with a real strong 1 or 2 day rally, and then just let it fizzle out and just let it cascade lower. If this breaks this low here, I mentioned that we could potentially see 35 or 32.50 as downside. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen like in a day or two. Can it happen? Sure, because we just watched Bitcoin just completely melt down. This stock market is full of traders right now because they're all trading those meme stocks. AMC, the GameStop stocks. I can't recall off the top of my head what they all were, but they're real busy on Reddit trying to get them all pumped up again. So you know my feelings about that, and I think it's a gamble. Don't mess with it. And back into that volume imbalance, you can take a look at the averages. Okay, you can see the E-mini S&P, we have it trading high here, then lower, whereas the NASDAQ was going high and then higher high as we traded into that volume imbalance. And then the Dow just wasn't really showing a whole lot in concert with that of the NASDAQ. So we have our classic S&T divergence in a time period and price level that we would expect reasonable resistance. There's our smart money signature. So you know that there's going to be distribution in this area, and they break it down again. You can look at all of these respective highs all through here, and you'll be able to see there's divergence as well. Real quick off the top is here's a high, slightly higher high, respectively. You have the lower high shown in NASDAQ, and it broke again rather aggressively going to the downside. I mentioned Bitcoin. All right, and this is obviously in hindsight, okay? I did mention to my oldest son, Cody, who has been active in crypto lately. He was giving me an update on how well he's done. He's reporting that he's made $8,000 through all of the smaller altcoins, and he holds Bitcoin. And I told him, I said, you want to take what you put in out, so that way you're trading with the market's money. And I'm so thankful that out of all the things I've always said about trading, he's never listened to any of it. He's wanting to try to reinvent the wheel. I guess it's his 20-year-old stubbornness. I know where he gets that from. But he took out what he invested, and then now today, we saw Bitcoin come down. So as a father and ICT, I'm so thankful that he listened. But he's confident. He thinks that it's going to go higher. I don't know personally. I think this was a really nice distribution, topping formation. We had 1, 2, 3 drives higher, breaking market structure there, came right back up into the fair value gap once it rebalanced, and then attacked the sell side liquidity, rebalanced. And this is what I don't like. This is some of the things that, while all these are great, all these signatures are great, and having shown all that is wonderful. And I was talking to him over a week ago saying that you could be watching this area up here, because if it doesn't go above that, then it's going to reach for this one. And then when we had this breakdown, I mentioned to him that if we do break, we have this right here. There's sell side liquidity, relative equal lows, and it's also what I teach as a trendline phantom. The sell side liquidity here is what's going to be attacked. It didn't quite get down there. See that? It just fell short of it. So it just fell short of reaching the 30,000 mark. Now, me personally, whenever I watch YouTube, there's always these young guys getting on there in their advertisements saying there's going to be a huge move and Bitcoin's going to go to 100,000, blah, blah, blah. I don't subscribe to Bitcoin going to 100,000. And I don't know what makes everyone believe it's going to go there. It's just a hope and a prayer. And I never seen anything past 62,000. And that's why I didn't have any higher objectives. I didn't call for anything higher. It was 52,000 and 62,000, and we went just a little bit above it, but then broke down. I find that fascinating because all I did was use classic market structure and simple expansion targets on fib. That's all it was. There was no real science behind me calling out 62. It just means that was the next logical level for an expansion, and nothing else mattered to me beyond that, because it would be just guessing, and I would build the case around any higher level on just conjecture alone. And I don't like doing that, and that's why I've been very vocal publicly that I don't know what it's going to do if it goes higher. It could go wherever it wants to go. I just don't see where it would go from there. But from a trend standpoint, 62,000 made sense. And to see it be shaved in half after reading almost 64,000, almost, I think, yeah, went a little bit above 64,000. And then it attacked the trend line phantom, but the objective would have been reaching here. And can it do it later on? Maybe. But I don't understand this asset. I don't understand the currency. There's been a lot of talk about how the IRS is going to crack down on crypto traders, making sure they pay their taxes. Maybe that's one of the reasons for all of this. I don't know what causes it. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up, because there's a lot of the new folks from the 2021 group that have hit my inbox today, and my staff have been saying, hey, look, can you talk about Bitcoin tonight? Because we're getting a lot of emails, and I can't read all of them, obviously, because there's too many of them. But I don't know what caused this collapse. From a market structure standpoint, everything I just outlined here is what it is. I haven't been actively following crypto, only in casual conversation with my son. And other than that, like I said, I took my eyes and interest away from it because it fulfilled everything that I felt it was likely to do, which was trade to 62,000. And then once it did that, I'm done. Like, I wanted to walk away having hit all my targets, and here it is. In hindsight, I wish I would have made it vocal about the likelihood of this fair value gap trading here and then maybe seeing 40,000 hit, because I have exchanges between me and my son and personal friends saying that that's what I personally felt that it was likely to do, trade from this fair value gap down to here, maybe touch 40,000. But I'm not in it. So, and for me to say it, even mentioning it here, probably sounds, why'd you mention it? But it's one of those things where I wish I would have said it publicly, because then it would have been one more testimony to the things that we do as traders here in this community. But do I need to mention it? No. And nobody's going to believe me anyway, if I put it online. And I have enough things I've called publicly that stand the test of time. They can look at it. So, to answer all of your questions, I don't know what Bitcoin's going to do. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if it went back down to 20,000 and rebalanced here, because all of this big build up here, a lot of people made money in this run, and a lot of people up here and here were anticipating this high being taken out, and then we're going to go to 100,000. And personal friends of mine who have a lot of money put a lot of money into this with that thought process, and they were buying up here against my not experience in crypto, but just my experience in general, that's not a good idea to do that. We're too far extended, and it was going to likely hit my target. And then I kept telling them the same thing. Like, I don't see it going higher than that. Doesn't mean I'm right, because obviously I can be wrong. I've been wrong a few times in crypto, but for the most part, my public calls are pretty good. And one of my friends with money, put it this way, he hasn't texted me, he hasn't called me, and I know he's feeling pain today. So we'll see where Bitcoin settles for the evening, and what dust may settle after that. But I'm quite certain he's disgusted, because he probably hears my voice in the back of his head. Don't do it. And now here we have this. So very painful to watch something like this. Okay, because I know some of you in here are holders of Bitcoin. And maybe some of you are like, oh man, this is great. It gives me a chance to buy in more at a lower price. Yeah, great, if that's what you think is going to happen. And if it happens, God bless you. But I don't know what it's going to do. And it would need to completely erase all of this decline and quickly get back above this fair value gap. If If it trades back above it, finds some support and rallies from there, that would be just a complete washout of all the longs. Any large fund traders, their liquidity would have been absorbed all through here. And I don't know, and I'm not claiming to know that's what happened. But in hindsight, if it does, let's say it that way, if it goes above this fair value gap and trades back down, finds some support, and then rallies from that, that would resume the bullishness on Bitcoin in my mind. Anything less than that, we probably topped for the year. And that's my opinion. I don't have anything invested in crypto. I'm not trying to continue my conversation about crypto or Bitcoin, because you all know when you signed up in 2021's agreement, I mentioned that there is no cryptocurrency discussion. I don't trade it. I don't touch it. And the only reason why I'm doing it is because there is an enormous crowd of the 2021 group. And I don't want to seem like I'm avoiding the question. I don't want to seem rude because I'm not answering your emails that are coming to me. This is my response. If it doesn't satisfy you, I apologize. But this is the extent of what I see, what I personally feel and believe as a trader. Looking at it, it would need to quickly, and what is quickly? Define quickly for me. Okay, that's what you're thinking. Well, I'm thinking that it needs to do a complete reversal over the next 3 days. If it doesn't do that, if it just climbs up rather slowly, that to me is suspect, and it probably would just go right back here to rebalance and then resume going lower. It would need to quickly get away from that and say, no, this was just a wicked stop hunt, and then it's going higher. And it would be wildly bullish. If it did something like this and came back up within 3 days and started trading north of this high, I would think 80,000 is the next objective. That's reasonable. 85,000, maybe 90, but think of that 100,000 mark as the first time we were trading just below 20,000. I think they would pull some shenanigans there because everybody wants that 100,000, and a lot of people will be trying to take money out at 100,000. So if they can get people on board, and if, again, this is a rather huge assumption on my part and conjecture, so please don't take this advice to heart. I'm just speaking my mind because some of you are more or less demanding it because they saw the crash here. I don't want you to take this as advice to go in and trade crypto. I don't believe in the asset class. I don't think it's something that I would put my own money in yet. And if we do trade higher above that fair value gap and find some support there and rallies 80, 85, 90, and then consolidate, make an attempt to try to get to 100,000 and then have something like this occur again. And then whether it gets to 100,000 or not, I don't know. But that's what I expect. That's what I would expect if it were to completely erase all this. And they would have to do it within the next 3 days. So basically, Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening, going into Sunday morning, it needs to be above here. That would be wildly bullish for Bitcoin. And it would get everybody, frothing at the mouth to get back in, buying it, whatever. This right here, I believe there's a lot of people that talk like, oh, I want it to go down like this and I'm going to buy it. I don't think there's a lot of people buying it when it does that. Okay, there may be a number of you in here that are buying it or have bought it. But I think as a whole, the trading community as a whole, I don't think they really do it. They like to say, oh yeah, hope it gets down there, it gets cheap. And then once it starts turning, they'll buy it and say, yeah, I bought it down here to save face, on social media or whatever. I don't think they're going down here, right when this thing was trading at almost at 30,000. I don't think there's a huge amount of people buying that. Not the general populace in crypto. They're too afraid. I mean, they're watching this thing crash. They're not thinking it's cheap, let's buy. They're thinking, what did I just do? I just put my nest egg into this thing and it's tanking. You got to remember, trading with real money, whether it's in crypto or whatever, it's altogether something different when you now have your money negative. And nobody feels, well, I bought it up here or I bought it over here and now it's down here, it's cheaper, so now I got a real good bargain. Let me pour money into it when I'm underwater. No, sorry. Cryptocurrency traders are a different breed only because the people that are looking at them as a different breed just don't know that that's how it's always been with new traders. And crypto traders are predominantly new traders. They're mostly complete novices. Now, are there experienced traders in crypto? Absolutely. Okay, but by far and large, I'm convinced that if we were all in the same room together and we had a conversation and we had a show of hands raised, do you believe that the majority of traders in crypto space is predominantly newbies or noob traders, brand new traders? And everybody's hand predominantly would probably be raised on that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that there was a huge influx of buying by the crypto space investors. I think that they're thinking, this is probably not a good idea. Maybe I made a mistake. If it comes back up here, you'll hear them groan and moan about how they could have bought down here, but missed the opportunity. Then again, it's assuming it does everything I'm saying that I would expect if it were in fact still bullish. I don't hold that stance. Okay, I think something else has taken place here, and I think that, unless it does what I just outlined, we've seen the top on 2021 on Bitcoin, and we may trend sideways a lot, maybe go a little bit lower, but this high seems formidable for the time being, and we'll see what it does going forward. As a reminder, I'm not going to be visiting crypto, and if we see something wild again, then hey, I might touch on it again. But please respect the fact that I did not promise this asset class being covered in the mentorship. I don't want to cover it on my YouTube channel because I got a lot of people emailing me that are outside mentorship that ask for me to cover Bitcoin, and I don't want to touch it because frankly it's a distraction and I don't know what it's going to do. And if I'm telling you what I think it might do, I have no logic to base it on. Like, I have no experience to lean on. I have no, I want to be honest all the time, and I'm trying for the new folks that don't understand why I'm saying this the way I'm saying it. It's frustrating for me because I can't make it any plainer and still be respectful. Like, I don't want to touch on it because I don't know what it's going to do, and I might be really good at the other markets, but it's because I have an experience and I have a faith in them, which I don't have in crypto. And some of you might argue and say, well, just give us your opinion anyway. You're asking me to operate in an environment that I'm not comfortable in. And I don't want to make conjectures. Like, I don't want to do that, because if I'm wrong, it's wrong on the basis of ignorance. And I don't have any framework to say this is why I think it's going to happen. And if I'm right, you're going to falsely assume that I had more insight than I did, and I don't. So again, please, I'm being honest. Try not to think that there's more behind the scenes. I'm not secretly buying Bitcoin. I've never traded Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin. I don't have any cryptocurrency. I've never traded it, and I couldn't even begin to tell you where I would put money in to trade it. Okay, I know there's a futures contract. I'm not interested. Okay, with all due respect, with all of my sincerity, please don't request any more coverage of crypto. I don't want to touch on it. I don't know what it's going to do. And I'm being 100% honest. And I hope you can respect that. Okay? And I think that is going to be it for the midweek review. I'll have a really good lesson for you this weekend in the weekend commentary. I'll touch base with you tomorrow in the daily log entry. Until then, be safe.